All right, we're just gonna jump right in. This is gonna be a Jhin review game for you, Stankel Bean. Um, Overall, this game went okay, but it dragged out too long, and then eventually you guys got caught, and that's mostly why you lost. Rather than narrate this whole game, I think there's 4 to 5 really big turning points in this game. We're gonna focus mostly on that, because laning phase is very quiet. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the lane matchup while laning phase is going, but throughout the video I'm going to leave timestamps and we're going to focus on these big major areas that I think are the most results heavy, or the biggest catalyst for the game, and what was the most decisive as to who won or lost. Your build here shifts off into lifesteal. That's going to be important later because I don't think you needed this. But this is important right here. We're just going to look at a few stats before the game for preface sake. So here at 25 minutes, you see that you guys were ahead, and then here by 26 minutes, you guys are not ahead. So this actually ties into your build where you get lifesteal, but more importantly, this is a map rotational mistake that actually causes this. Stat-wise, you do a bunch of damage. You did the most damage in the game except for the Heimerdinger, which is not that surprising. So overall, you played strong. Except for, I think, a couple map rotations. But the last thing I wanted to look at... Oh yeah, you started Doran's Ring. You don't really do this anymore. I see a few people do it, but it's not really correct anymore. The first reason is that once you get this AP from Doran's Ring, that means you are going to shift your adaptive bonus from your rune set into AP as well. So you're not just getting 8 AD from a Doran's Blade, you're not getting the 6 AD from your rune passive. So you're not just down 6 AD, you're down a combined 14 AD in laning phase, which basically is a 25% AD that you're missing. That's 14 more AD to last hit, that's 14 more AD to trade, and 14 more AD means that since you hit harder and push better with your auto attacks, you actually shouldn't need to use as many abilities. You won't need to feel like you need to spam Q to contest or push lane because you have 14 more AD and you're just stronger. Another argument that people make for D ring is that you get 2 potions. This is another fallacy because this is not more HP. Doran's Blade gives 20 more HP to begin with, I believe, and it gives lifesteal. So every time you auto creeps, you're gaining more HP, and it doesn't take long to get more value out of Doran's Blade's extra 20 HP and its lifesteal over 1 potion, which costs money. You don't get that 50 gold back. And we're going to go into a little more reason as to why you don't use Doran's Ring anymore. I like to look at pro builds and play a game or 2 of the champion I'm reviewing just for comparison's sake. But when you look at pro builds and you see that quite literally nobody has a Doran's Ring in any of their builds in any of these games, we're gonna go all the way down. Like, you can't even find one. I'm pretty sure there's not one here, no matter how far down you go. Having that lack of 14 AD level 1 is just too drastic. Okay, there's one, and look, he lost that game. So there you go. Wait, no, here's another one. Oh man, look, he lost that game too. Shit. Okay. Just to drive that point home a little harder, starting at Doran's Ring, you have a negative win rate on a positive win rate champion. Starting Doran's Blade, look at that, positive win rate. Another point to make with the runes, though, your runes look exactly like this, I believe. Pretty sure this is what you took. But since you're not running D-Ring anymore, if you feel like you can consistently win laning phase and try to end games before like 30, 33 minutes, 35 minutes, then I think Mana Flow Band might actually have more value than Gathering Storm. It is kind of risky, because once games go past 40 minutes, you're really going to feel like you're weaker for not having this against someone who does. But realistically, you don't want your game to go 40 minutes anyway, because that means you probably didn't end it sooner, which is, I think, the big problem that happened in this game anyway. I think looking to snowball, which you actually do pretty well here, and trying to end games before 33 minutes, before Gathering Storm actually becomes a factor, can make taking Mana Flow Band worth it. Because if we see down here, it has less of a pick rate, because Gathering Storm is just generally considered core on carries. But, you know, it does fare considerably similar in win rate. So there's going to be matchups where I do think you should take Mana Flow. But, again, there's also matchups where you should take Gathering Storm. I think that's going to wrap up what we're looking at before the game starts. I think that hits on everything. The runes, the Doran's Ring. Yeah. Okay, so minimize that. Shift that over. Boom. Okay. The first thing to notice now that we're here is that it's only 1:36 into the game and you've already died. And we're going to look at why that happened right at the beginning. Now, I like to say that the game starts at 15 seconds because 15 seconds is when the barriers go down. That's when you can leave the fountain. Honestly, you should be off the fountain steps and running out there before that clock hits 18 seconds because you should have already bought your item, and once that wall goes down, you're already out there. That is actually even more important in this case because, see, look at this Draven. Look at him. Look how far he is. 16 seconds. He is gone. He is way out here. That's where you should be. The reason why it's even more important this game, though, is because they have a Morgana. They are going to invade, and there's no reason for them to get into your jungle before you do. Now, that doesn't necessarily happen.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. 30 seconds.
But if you were standing here, you would have advance warning. They shouldn't beat you to your side of the river. Is more realistic. Because if they get here before you do, that's bad. That shouldn't happen. But then you're standing here all by yourself against an invading champion in Morgana. That's not Morgana, that's Morgana. And then this happens, which isn't surprising. The very first moment that I actually started up this replay, and I saw that they had a Morgana, and that none of you moved off the platform at 15 seconds, I kind of knew you were going to die. It was just a feeling I had. But we get back to lane, and this is where we're going to start fast-forwarding it. Because the signing phase, it goes pretty well. It doesn't go bad, but it's slow. So I'm going to talk about how you can be more aggressive and get more done. Thank goodness you get there, yeah, for all the XP. And they actually miss it. So this basically, the fact that they didn't get any of this and you got all of it, they kind of lose lane off of this. If this were high the elo, if this were like master, you know, high diamond or challenger, this game's already over. This lane is done. You can't just miss all 3 melee minions like that. That's absolutely terrible. So that kind of gives you a free lane in a sense, because they have to wait so much longer to hit level 2. And you guys cease tempo immediately. But this is where I'm going to slow it down because I'm going to talk about this matchup. And the first thing I'm going to talk about before I talk about this matchup actually is the fact that you did 117 crit execute damage to that minion. Because you only have 59 AD. This Draven has 84. It's 25 more AD than you. You should have about 75? No, 73. You should have 73. This discrepancy is ridiculous. If these players were not late to lane and they contested you level 1 and you guys traded 1 or 2 auto attacks, you would already be losing and it wouldn't feel very good. So the fact that he's late to lane really covers up the fact that you are very weak level 1 because of your setup and your item choice. But this is what I like to call a muscle matchup, because if Draven and Morgana are going to beat Jhin and Nami, they're going to do it with damage, because they're very damage heavy. Morgana lands Q and then they just dump out all their damage. Whereas whenever you lane with a healer, your goal is kind of just to have more HP than them at all times, because you're going to out-sustain them. But more directly, how this lane goes is that if Draven has both his axes up and Morgana's Q is up, you shouldn't be too close to either of them, because you'll die. And overall, of course, we're going to speed this up actually, because this is terribly slow. This Nami actually pokes this Draven down a lot, and she gets you a lot of good presence, but you never really capitalize on it. I think even sneaking in single shots and single Qs from time to time, like once a wave, builds up to kill pressure. We're going to look at the first way you can start doing that. This is a really good example because this is math, you know. Sometimes it's good to just break it down into numbers. So we see that this Draven has 600. It's gaining 5 HP. Okay, here's a good thing for the lifesteal, actually. You see how this Draven's gaining 5 HP on every hit. Part of it's because his, you know, axes do a bunch more damage, but he also has more AD than you, and he has a Doran's Blade. So if he's gaining 5 AD on hit, oh, and a longsword. If he's gaining 5 health on hit, he will regenerate the value of 1 health potion and 25 auto attacks, more or less. Or 24. So that value of like that extra potion you think you have as someone who buys a Doran's Ring over a D-Blade start, it's more like you need that potion to stay even, because D-Blade gives more HP to begin with and it gives lifesteal. But that aside, what we're looking at is how much damage this W does to him. Got 627. That hits him and does 70, more or less, 68. Then Aerie hits him, and then Scorch hits him. So he dropped down to 525. He took a full 100 damage, I think. A little more than 100 from one W poke from Nami. Which is huge. What this means is that just a few W pokes from this Nami and just a few auto Qs from you is enough to build kill potential on this guy. Just because Nami doesn't have Ignite doesn't mean you guys can't kill him. Because you guys, or Nami, frequently pokes this guy, but you don't really step up and help her poke. So her poke never really gets anywhere because he's able to regenerate most of the damage. Now, this does have to do with the fact that he picked up the first blood, so you guys want to play safe, and I understand that. And you have to play safe because you started a Doran's Ring, and you actually can't fight this guy face to face because, you know, the AD difference. He's actually got more than 20 AD over you. But if you started that Doran's Blade here, I think you're going to see as we keep going that you could have been a lot more aggressive. A lot of it is due to the fact that you lucked out. Going back to level 1 here, like you see, they're still level 1. They're only finally about to get level 2. So, like, you got lucky. You got lucky this game. So Nami's getting a lot of good poking, as you can see. When you see that you're in like a healer matchup, or like an enchanter matchup in general, but one enchanter is a healer and the other one's not, you should be more inclined to trade. Because you may not have more HP than them right now, but you will, because Nami can heal you. Morgana can only shield magic damage. Or apply Aerie with, you know, it only goes up to like 40. So it's not really a lot of reduction if you're the one hitting her. So you're looking for some of these fourth shots, but you can't quite get them. You do get one, but yeah. You see that you do 115 there. If you had 14 more AD, even just another auto attack that you hit this guy with, he would be in a lot riskier of a health state. You're trying to whittle him down in HP so that his laning becomes more and more dangerous. If you don't attack his HP and put pressure on him, he just regens back up. So this lane is very slow, but we're going to keep watching here. Your farm is okay, but it would probably be better if you had 14 more AD. You'd probably be missing less CS. You see what I mean about how well this Nami is poking for you, though. I think she is trying to carry your lane for you, and if you would just sneak in a little more poke here and there, even if it's just one auto Q at a time, it would help a lot. So you just use Q, and you're pretty much full mana again. Use another E, and like the Doran's Ring, it keeps you going. But you've been pretty high mana for all this time. So this Doran's Ring that you started, like, it can't really give you mana if you're at full mana. So for even buying this Doran's Ring, you're not even using your abilities enough, or poking enough to really warrant it. This is kind of the last reason why I think you should just be buying Doran's Ring. That mana might feel good, but you need AD and lifesteal more, because doing more damage per auto attack means that you're not even going to need to use as many spells, because you have more output per auto attack. Now Camille finally shows up, because you guys have been pushed up forever, but because you're both full HP, because you've been playing safe, you live. So, all the shit I've been talking about, how you weren't playing aggressive enough, this is where I kind of come back and say, this is why you play defensive in a muscle matchup against someone like Draven who got first blood. Because if they want to, and that you get ganked, you might just die. If you were anything less than full HP right now, you would have died. 100%, obviously. So this risk-averse style of keeping your HP up against someone who got first blood pays off. But I don't think you need that Dark Blade. I keep saying it because it is so extremely important. There's a reason why you didn't see more than 2 Dorn's rings in like 40 games on that pro builds list. So then you buy AD though, so your AD jumps up because it switches your adaptive bonus by 6, so it's kind of like a little extra there. And you're strong again. And the problem is Draven's stronger because he got that first blood and he's got a BF sword. So laning phase from this point on should still be relatively safe and risk averse because you know you don't want to feed that Camille or the Draven. But Draven would have never had this kill if you were off the mountain. Watching for the invade. Now this is what I mean when I say this laning phase is very boring. Now, you guys do land a good trade here. But because he's got so much damage already, remember when he was getting 5 health per auto attack? It's up to like 15 now. Or like 12 or so. Because he's doing over 200 damage per hit with some of these Qs. He's gaining a lot of health. Yeah, that was like 10. So the Dorn's Blade lifesteal, it scales. That's another thing that's really strong about it. That's why people like Yasuo can go double Dorn's Blade with an Fan Dancer. Because crits and 6% lifesteal means it's almost kind of like you have 12% lifesteal, that auto attack. Not exactly, but you see my point. Okay. Now we're gonna look at this one more time. But we're finally going to switch to just your vision because it's important to how you play this fight. You see your whole team here. Top lane pretty much doesn't count. You don't have a lot of mana, but you still use your Q right there. When you know a fight could potentially break out, you should not be just using random abilities on the wave because you already don't have enough mana to fight this fight. And specifically, we need to go back a little further. Okay, this looks better. Now, you don't necessarily see the fight brewing yet, but it's coming. You throw another Q to kind of keep the wave pushed, keep it off your tower. Throw another W, and all of a sudden, you're kind of out of mana. You have some, but you don't have mana float band, but you do have a D ring. But this is still not good. When it comes to bot lane, if you don't have enough mana to use all of your abilities once, I don't think you have enough mana. Because this fight that ends up happening, that's been brewing and you know it's going to happen soon, that's why we rewinded, you're not ready for it when you don't have enough mana to use all of your abilities at least once. Because realistically, I think you needed to use your ult here when this fight starts, but you don't even have the mana to do it. So in your case, as Jhin, 130. You don't want to dip below 230 mana, or maybe more realistically, 250 mana, because in a fight you might use 2 Qs. You know, you might throw a second W. So you want to try to preserve 250 mana minimum, and you've fallen below that right here. We're going to speed this back up. So right when you use this W to try to snare the Jaime, except he got Morgana bubble, which stinks, you don't even have enough mana to ult anymore, which stinks. Because your team kind of needed it right here. I'm not saying this couldn't have gone way better, but if you had mana, it would have gone at least a little better, because it really limits your options. You want to try to keep them enough mana to use everything at least once. More farming, pretty close to your Storm Racer. Now, the Draven already has his Storm Razor. Okay, so we come back to lane. I think your buy's fine, because you shouldn't be doing your Storm Razor any more than necessary, except you need boots, especially because of Morgana and Camille are trying to catch you. So really, this is just farming time. Like, there's not a whole lot to do here, right? Considering the fact that they have gotten this help though, like, and Draven got the first blood, your farming is not bad. But I think without the first blood and with the Dorn's Blade, you'd actually have more farm than him right now. And maybe even beat him to the Storm Racer. Close one, huh? Okay, we're gonna watch this fight one more time. I don't want to get caught up on this too long, or else this video's gonna take forever. So once this TP comes in, you still walk in and, you know, you get her flash, which is good. Okay. We're gonna stop it right here, because the rest of this is just you running away and getting kind of lucky and living with 10 HP. I think the two things that are important to note here is that you didn't retreat soon enough for Jaime. You flashed late, and there's two specific parts or, you know, moments in time where you kind of walk back at them when you should just be in full retreat mode. So we're gonna look back at them a little more closely right as they happen. Once you saw that Morgana flash, and you should have already been backing up. So you do take a second, maybe not a full second, but your retreat is a little slow. Now, you end up flashing here, but that's after you got hit by all of Jaime's damage. This is, okay, that ringing sound is super annoying. There we go. And here's the stun. And then here's all the damage. You need to get in the habit of flashing the damage before it hits you, or specifically the CC, because you get hit by the CC and then you get hit by the damage. A lot of mid-champions work this way. Like if Syndra lands stun, or, you know, Ori lands or R, Xerath lands a stun, you're probably already gonna die, unless they already used everything else. So when you see this teleport come in, you know that Jaime wants to stun you. That's what Jaime does. So you need to be ready to flash the grenade before it hits you. What happens is you get hit by the grenade, you get hit by so much damage that you heal, and then you flash away. You needed to flash the damage to begin with. That way, like if you were to flash maybe up here, just at a slight angle rather than away, you can still help you can still help your team out when Draven turns on him, and you would be full HP with your heal still up. So you could also heal Teemo. So the price of you not flashing sooner is actually like worse. You trying to save your flash ends up costing you your flash, essentially. You need to be looking for proactive ways to use your flash effectively and less defensive reactive ways, because you end up just walking away from the fight when you could have not gotten so hurt. And then Teemo's getting destroyed. You walk back in here, and then you realize that, yeah, and then here's where you walk back in a second time. But you realize that, you know, Draven has both of his axes going and that he's going to kill you. So you walk back down. I think if not for those two moments where you kind of walked back in, you would have already been out of range. So this fight, kind of, to wrap it all up together, you need to make your retreats more quickly, I think. You need to recognize when a target is not worth chasing a little faster. And you probably need to get in the habit of using your flash to dodge the skill shots before they hit you. Because when that Jaime TP's in, like, you know, he's the only one with TP. You know that he's going to try to stun you. You already know that's going to happen. The turn here is good, though. This more or less catches you back up with Draven, because Draven with a small gold lead isn't necessarily ahead. He kind of needs like 1,000 to feel ahead.
Killing spree.
a lot of this is actually you just kind of getting more fed here for the next 10 minutes. Tab eyes, absolutely. You can only counter so much Camille, Jax, and Draven damage, but you can dodge Morgana CC. Okay, we're actually gonna look at that real quick before we keep going. The next thing we're really looking at here is what happens at 25 minutes, because this is kind of slow. Okay, yeah. This is why you have to respect the Draven Morgana, right? This is what it looks like when he starts to pop off. He eats the CC and he continues to run at you and murder you with double axis and Conqueror. So when you like don't play the respect and Waveclear and poke game, and like he slips you with a CC, like he gets that black shield, this is what it looks like. And this is normal, right? This is why you're afraid of Draven. This is why people are afraid of Morgana. But you get out, thankfully. Probably wouldn't have got out if it wasn't for your tabbies. And you see the fight brewing. But we're going to fast forward here, because Tsunami just ends up healing you back up. Not very much excitement right now. You almost have enough for Zeal, but Draven's also got some good money. Okay. Since Trundle did just get that solo kill like a minute ago, you guys are kind of somewhat winning on the rest of the map. You guys have a decent pressure advantage because Trundle's outpacing the Camille. But one thing that I think is worth noting is that you are AFK wave clearing against this Draven. I think with how much activity that is going on top, this is a good time for you to actually try to play the lane and like let him come in further in so that you can do more. So we're gonna go back, I think about 2 waves. That was 1854. We're gonna go back to 18 minutes. I'll show you what I mean. Because you actually have an item advantage here, I would say. Draven is still scary, but if we look right now, you're level 10, he's level 9. You have your tab eyes and he doesn't. Your AD and your multiplication with your passive have started to kick in here. So you have 234 AD, you're strong. And, you know, he's got 173. Now with his axes going, you know, he still hurts a lot. We know that. But you have more AD and you have tab eyes and you have someone who can heal you. This is where I think, and you have a level up. You're actually in the driver's seat right now. But you keep pushing the waves directly into him and you're not really making him contest you. What you want to do when you're stronger and you have such a stronger position like this is you want to make him contest you. You want to make him deal with you and Nami's pressure just to farm. So when you keep AFK wave pushing him in, he doesn't have to contest you at all because you're pushing the minions directly to him. Now you're still getting in a few shots here and there, which is good, but he's completely safe under tower. You want them to be out here where you have more room to chase and maneuver and hit them. This actually goes into the Morgana matchup too, because the more you fight in this choked up area, the easier it is for her to land Qs and ultimates. The more you fight out here, you have more room to dodge, and you're also safer from a potential gank, but we already talked about how like they're putting the pressure top in right now. So you choosing to AFK push him in doesn't do anything for you. Often the point of pushing people in is so that you can attack the tower, but you're not doing that either. So that's why this game stalls out like this. It's 19 minutes and no one's taken a tower. They can't find enough edges top, and there's a lot of action. They can't wave clear each other out mid, because it's a Heimerdinger. And you can't push him down because you guys are just wave clearing each other to death. So you should be letting him push out a little more like this, where you guys can get some poke in and do some work. This is what you should be doing more of. It's not a coincidence that this fight happens out here rather than up here. You need room to work in this situation. You don't want to just AFK push them. See, because they have a longer retreat path as well, right? When they're way out here, they're a lot further from safety. there's more chances for interaction and to extend your lead or to fight somebody when you don't AFK push them under tower. The exception to that is when you push them under tower and dive them, or push them under tower and continue to poke them. But you guys were pushing them under and then not continuing to harass because you were afraid of getting ganked. So part of it's a lack of vision, part of it I think is just a bit of not knowing exactly how to approach your matchup. But we're going to fast forward now. You have Zeal. You still need your rapid fire cannon, ideally. This Draven does have his 2 items, but as long as you work around him, I think you guys can still make the plays work. Good rotation. Rather than try to push behind me, you rotate again, which is smart. So mid-game is definitely started, right? People are rotating out of their lanes, back and forth, left and right, and towers are falling. You rotate down and catch farm, more dives, more picks, more rotating. All this is really good stuff. You're getting a lot of gold, more killing, and then pause. You finish your rapid fire cannon, and then you go try to stop this Jax. I think this is fine actually, I may have stopped it too early. Yeah. Okay, this is super important. This is where you bought lifesteal, and you still have 900 gold. You just finished your rapid fire cannon, and you had enough money to buy another BF sword to work towards your eye edge. But somewhat inexplicably, I say this because this is really huge. Remember when we looked at the stats before the game, and 25 minutes is where they get their lead back? This is why. You shouldn't have bought lifesteal because you have a healer support, and you haven't really been getting poked down anyway. Nami's been doing a pretty good job keeping you alive. Reason number 2, you had more gold to get more of a lead, but you end up walking right off the fountain with 900 gold. So you could have bought more. And this is the big moment. If you look at the map right now, you can see that the rest of your team is top lane. You guys just got done rotating and pushing all over them and getting a whole bunch of kills because your team is just so strong in team fighting right now. You have a real support, you have a real tank, and Trundle bought Zeke's, which makes you incredibly strong. They need you to take these towers. But you just had a bad buy, bought something you didn't need, didn't spend all your money, and then you run out mid, and you come ward dragon, but your team is all the way up here. You should be up here with them right now, helping to dive the Heimerdinger or taking this tower, but instead, you actually kind of just sit mid until you die. So the reason why it's even worse that you bought this lifesteal item is that it doesn't even keep you alive, which is, I mean, the point of lifesteal, right? You stay so healthy that ideally you never get poked down and die. That's like the perfect situation. Now you build this into a bloodthirster, but it's a bloodthirster that I don't think you need. So you're still mid. Your team did not successfully attack top lane because you weren't there, and Heimerdinger is too hard to dive because he also has a Zhonya's. So they couldn't do that without you. And they did mountain because you couldn't stop them, or I think they're still doing it. Yep. So you don't get top, you don't get dragon. Now I initially paused it at 25 minutes as you were leaving base. It's been 2 minutes now, and you kind of haven't done anything. And then this is where you die. With 1,500 gold in your pocket. If you had already bought a BF sword, the rest of this gold you'd be halfway towards an Infinity Edge already. But now you're nowhere near an Infinity Edge because you bought a Vamp Scepter. So these 2 minutes that you guys needed to keep snowballing and keep the momentum up, when you went mid and sat mid, rather than helping your team siege top, I think this is actually the most decisive part of the game. because this is your single biggest mistake. I think it's kind of easy to see that when you see that, you know, your entire team is up here and you're the only one that pathed mid, right? Everyone just based, everyone just, you know, spent their money. You have rapid fire cannon and storm razor, so like they need you to chop at these towers. That's like half the reason you buy this item. Everyone goes top except you. The 20 to 30 minute time frame, when you have a lead like this and your whole team's ahead, you really have to keep this momentum going. And Jhin is someone who ultimately benefits from being around his teammates more than he does from being solo. Not just because like you need protection to do all of your damage, but because you help catch people with your CC. So we already know that you guys don't get this tower, we already know that you guys don't get this dragon, and you don't get anything done mid except some farm until you die. So this is super important. You need to be with your team up here and keep the rotations and tower killing momentum going. But we are going to skip ahead. Pretty big time, actually. Because this game stalls out very, very hard. And we don't want to go too much just looking at what everyone's not doing. So you come back, you get your BF sword, you get red buff. Nami's sticking with you, you're sticking with Nami. Everyone's still kind of farming. Your goal right now would be to push down the lanes that Heimerdinger isn't in. The only issue that's like kind of scary about you walking up mid lane like that is that you didn't really have a lot of vision on your sides, and Camille pressing R on you is kind of one of those no counterplay things where you just die. Now you do have some layers of defense with the Nami redemption and all this good stuff, and she has exhaust too. But you're really sitting mid hard here. You see what I mean? So you start rotating again. You see how all these good things happen, like when your whole team is together. Your guys' power as a grouped team is insane. Trundle can just pick whoever he wants, and Nami has all the nice move speed tools to help everyone catch up. So sticking with your fed team right now, I would say your better team fighting comp is definitely what you should be doing. I think, yeah, this is important, actually. You take too long to back here. The moment you guys got done pushing this out, you should have been walking directly this way, like to the nearest area like this. And I would say probably should have started your back already. So this is a small nitpick, but you see all this time you're spending kind of wandering around. You should be doing what Trundle's doing. You should already be in base and back out on the map. You're just kind of taking too long. So you're working on your eye edge, but you should have had your eye edge, I think, about 8 minutes ago. You see how you weren't in range? You didn't get back there quick enough. If you backed quicker, like Trundle did, you could have been with him and with Nami right now. And you guys probably would get these kills, because you could be right here. But you took too long to base, so you're lagging behind. This stuff does matter. And for every minute after 20 minutes, and then even more so every minute after 30 minutes, slow rotations or non-rotations are extremely consequential.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
We're gonna watch this one more time, because this goes slightly off the rails, but I'd say some of it was out of your control, but it still could have gone better. So that's why it's important that we look at it. Okay, so we need to go back. Just a little bit. 35 to 5. Okay. You see the Heimerdinger coming. Jax is coming from the other side. Your team kites left, away from the Heimerdinger. Now, the way he does this was tricky. I actually didn't even see this the first time. And you kind of get unlucky. Part of the reason is he threw this through the wall, which was really sneaky. Like here, you can actually see it bouncing out of the wall. But you also got hit by Baron Tentacle. However, if you kite it out a little bit, it kind of stuck with your team as a unit. Like you, Nami, and Jhin are kind of one unit here. You would have dodged this Tentacle, and you would have also dodged this Heimer Grenade. So we're going to go back 3 seconds one more time. Okay, pause. This is where we see Heimerdinger coming, and Jax is off to the side. Oh, nice and slow. You see the Tentacle, and this is when Heimerdinger just immediately throws it, right? He goes dark for a second, so like this is what I mean. There's a lot of things that combine to kind of make this a little unlucky. So he goes dark the moment he throws it. So you can't see it, and then you get knocked up because you didn't dodge the Tentacle, and you take big damage. Now, the way this looks different, I think you guys needed to peel off sooner. Do you hit Baron with this fourth shot? Okay, yeah. You needed to not use that fourth shot on Baron, because that fourth shot is what gets it low enough for Camille to smite steal. That's why this fight's so important. A lot of things that happen when you slow it down and look really close. You have a few mushrooms here that you could use to kite. Heimerdinger runs into this one, namely. I think Jax also hit one. You burning? Yeah, he's burning. And then she flashes in order to come steal this. So, had you not hit this with your fourth shot, and maybe save that fourth shot for this Jax, Jax would have died sooner. Slightly sooner. And Camille wouldn't have stole this. Because, remember, you did 760 damage to it, and you just did like 200 more with your W. So if you had not done that, like, 1,000 damage, she doesn't steal this. She jumps in, and you guys probably turn on her and kill her, in fact. The rest of that goes well, though. You chase him down, you get the kills. Losing Baron's a little unlucky. But you can see why there's a level of mistakes here that lose you the game, actually. This is the other thing I want to look at. We're like 2 timestamps away from finishing the video, because this game ends kind of abruptly off people getting caught. So, it's 35 minutes in the game, right? You have a bunch of AD. You know, you have 700 AD right now. 620 when Hail of Blades comes down. This is a problem right here. 3 of them are dead for a long time. 36 seconds is the soonest that Jax will come back. In this moment, I think you are trying too hard to not lose rather than win the game. A little bit of decision paralysis, a little bit of not knowing when to step up as an AD carry. Because ultimately, you are the one that kills the towers. You know, that's what Rapid Fire Cannon's for. That's kind of what the AD carry's job is. So, when you choose to not push in against the one Morgana here, and you choose to defend instead, I think you're making a big mistake. You're definitely making a big mistake. First reason, this Draven dies before you even get within range to come kill him. So you backing was not necessary in order to stop his push. So what you backed for wasn't even needed. You don't even shoot him before he dies. He just dies before you get there. Reason being, Trundle and Zed kill him. Zed's coming back in 8 seconds, and they end up taking care of it. But this Jax is not back for 22 seconds. This Camille's not back for 28 seconds. So this Morgana is the only one who stands in the way of you and this tower right here. She didn't get Baron because she already died. So her Baron minions aren't standing in your way. I think you 100% needed to contest her there and at least force her under tower, and then possibly even rotate top. Because you basing, he just dies. So what you based for didn't actually amount to anything, when I think you actually needed to try to take this tower instead.
Shut down.
Oh, wait a minute. I must have gotten confused and thought of a different game. Why did I say that this guy dies without you getting there? Okay, this is why I said that. You see how Zed was gonna be here to defend this? I misspoke a little bit. Your Zed's 11 and 5, and he's level 16. This Draven was not gonna beat this Zed from half HP. Not if he couldn't beat you. No offense. So what you needed to do, your job in this situation, was to continue to push mid. Even if you lost this tower, which was going to happen anyway, Zed would have cleaned up this Draven. You didn't have to come back for this. So this is what I mean by you're trying a little too hard to not lose rather than win. And this happens one more time, but I think this one, the next one's actually even more egregious. I think you get eye edge here. Yep. I think you should have sold your Doran's ring here and bought a defensive item though. You would have had 900 gold. You could have bought a chain vest. Or even magic resistance or anything. This is the one I was getting confused with. This is the one where Draven dies without you having to go back. So I think you actually needed to push as a team here. So we go back. Okay, yeah, this is the one I'm talking about. Now, you can't exactly predict this in real time. This one is actually kind of tricky, except Draven runs out of minions before he goes to push this. And Nami actually does it without him. Now, you didn't necessarily know this was going to happen. Draven actually would have ended the game if he got that tower, or if he killed this Nami. So I completely understand your guys' decision to base here. The problem is that you guys aren't all doing it together. This is another situation where you see how Trundle got, like, he got back before you. He knew he needed to back. You, on the other hand, tried to push the tower by yourself, and Jax gets your flash, which is bad. In these late game scenarios where the next team fight decides the game, not having your flash is really bad, and to not have it for a reason like that, because you kind of didn't follow the rest of your team and commit, it's a game deciding kind of mistake. So you get back to base, sell your Doran's ring, buy another VF sword. I think I disagree with that. I don't think you need more damage to win this game. And if you did, I think you could have gotten a Last Whisper. Last Whisper at this late in the game, I think it would give you more damage, because if we look at their items, Morgana has Zanya's and a cloth armor. This guy has Zanya's and a ZZ Rot. He has Tab Eyes. This guy has Randuin's. They had enough armor, I believe, to make purchasing a Last Whisper at this point in the game, where you already have 866 AD, a better purchase than another BF sword. And this is mostly the fight that ends the game right there. Three of you guys are dead. Three of them are dead. Yeah, I think Heimerdinger goes and does Baron with Draven. Now, the reason I'm going through this so quick is because it kind of hurts to watch. You guys try to do something that you really can't do here. All your inhibs just came back up. You guys killed them even though they got Baron. You guys have their mid-hib, but your inhib came back, so this is where you should have a pressure advantage. I skipped all that Baron fighting because it wasn't important. They got Baron, you guys didn't. Whatever. Here's where you guys mess up. You guys tried to do something you can't, and what I mean by that is you guys sit mid, and you sit mid, and you sit mid, and this is where the inaction comes in. You become complicit in it when you do it with the rest of your team, so it kind of sucks. Like, I know it feels like you don't have a lot of control because everyone wants to do their own thing this late of a game. But this is why you had to end the game sooner, right? When you get into these late game team fights where it goes past 40 minutes, it gets crazy. And you do lose control because you can't control your whole team, let alone the enemy team. So when you kind of hurt your team's momentum at 25 minutes, something like this is what happens. The game goes off the rails, you guys lose your lead, and they crawl back in with Baron steals, because they stole Baron twice now. Or, they didn't steal it twice. They took it once, and they stole it once. So, this game dragged out. Now, this is where you guys sit mid. This is the thing you just can't do. Especially versus Heimerdinger. What you do instead, you see this massive wave? You guys go push this. Anything except trying to force the one that you have against a Heimerdinger of all champions. Like, and they have a ZZ Rot, and they have the Baron buff, or add. So you guys aren't getting through here. You guys do not have the Waveclear to beat a Heimerdinger. You almost have the poke, but they're right in their fountain. They can come right back. Zed finally goes top here. But look, you guys had another big wave down here too. You guys had the opportunity to push all waves, but you chose to kind of sit here. Now, you do get the inhib. But think about how long you guys have been here now. It's a long time. Eventually someone gets caught. And once you lose 2 people at the start of a team fight like that, this lane the game is just over. So they end up pushing down with a 3rd Baron, I believe. Yeah, they get a 3rd Baron and beat you guys on this push. So we're gonna skip that. But I'm gonna go back one more time. 38:30 is the last timestamp we're looking at. I think where you should have done something different, because all that stuff after that is just kind of crazy. These 35-40 minute plus games get too crazy, and trying to analyze them is not really worth the time and effort because there's too much going on. Okay. This is the push where it looks like Draven might end the game. I kind of disagree with the decision to back here, I'll be honest, because there's 3 EU and there's only 1 at Draven. So he's already hitting the towers and it looks scary, but check it out here. This is why I waited to look at this. The Cannon minion's already dead, right? Draven cannot fully tank this turret and kill it from 100 to 0, because these minions are going to die. He's not going to have minions to tank this turret and kill it. He's going to need this next wave to do it. In the time that that next wave comes in, I do believe the 3 of you can win the game. Now, Teemo and Trundle back, which is unfortunate, because they're afraid Draven's going to end the game. But if you look at this, you look at it very straight up, he does not have enough minions to end the game without this next wave coming in. And since we already watched this, we actually know that Nami kills him. Nami saves the day. Nami doesn't even need Trundle. She kills him with Redemption and CCs him, and he gets killed by the 2nd tower because he tries to tank it. But that's because he doesn't have enough minions. When you're in these last minute base race kind of situations, you need to see stuff like this. So once they start basing, you try to push it on your own. And you know what? I agree with you. The problem is Trundle and Teemo don't agree with you, and they base. And you can't do this on your own, because look who just came back. And this is where you lose your flash. So you don't have your flash going into the next fight that ultimately ends the game because of is what happens is very unlucky. So, you know, Nami kills Draven. We saw that. So how do you do this differently? Already too late right there because they're backing. This moment right here. You took a lot of damage. We need to watch this one more time. Okay. So, you know, Draven's trying to backdoor. Almost works. Nami's, you know, barely holding on. Barely holding on. You tanking on this tower here is actually pretty important. Okay. You see how you got selected by tower and then you ran all the way back through? This is like a small thing, but you were already on the edge of tower. Like, you were over here. Just walk out this way. It actually costs you a lot because now you can't even hope to kill Jax when he comes back, right? This is where, like, once you guys hit that tower, I know it looks scary that he's about to end the game here, but you guys could have ended the game. That's what's important. Only Jax, because he's the only one that's left, he can't stop all three of you. So this is a situation where you need to be spam pinging, assist me. You need to ping them both, like, until it says you can't send any more pings, you need to be pinging assist me on their tower, because this is the win right here. We already know that Nami saves it, like, she got lucky, like, she got a little lucky, right? We saw her with 5 HP, but she does it. And this is where we get back to recognizing that Draven doesn't have enough minions to end the game, which you guys do. So you need to let your team know that you need to go for the win. But we have one more fight to look at, the one where you don't have flash, and this is kind of an easy one. As for what you should have done differently. Okay. Okay. Now, you don't necessarily know that the Elder's low, I don't think. Yeah, you can't see it. But you put your ult on the entire pit. The issue with this is that Trundle's already started fighting them, so unless this fight is 100% going to stay contained right here, which it's not, you're aiming in the wrong spot, basically. I think with the timing of you walking up to this fight, you already needed to assume that Baron or Dragon was already almost dead. So you need to be aiming over here. You see how they're all moving this way? You're not ready to continue to follow up with your ultimate once they walk, like, past it. So I think you probably should have either saved your ult or just cast it more in an upward angle and been ready for the fight to move this way. But more specifically, you see how close you're standing right now? And you don't have flash. You're already a little too close. But the worst part about it is that you're not even shooting the low target. In situations like this, you really need to be killing whoever will die the fastest, soonest. So you hit the full health Heimerdinger. But you're already dead once this happens. Teemo does his best, you do your best, but you guys die here. So I think with a slightly better ult, you could have continued to put more damage output here. And Jax, in this very moment, didn't have his E on. So if you would have auto-queued him here, he probably would have died. When he was still really low before his Triumph healed him. Because as you can see, his Triumph healed him for 300. He was as low as 650. So him with 650 health when you have, like, you know, 700 to 1000 AD, you could have killed him with an auto-Q. And you could have not gotten so close because you walked very close. We're going to look at it one more time. That's going to be the end of the review. There's one important point to make here. Okay. When you're a ranged character that has to maintain distance for safety, every step that you take that is too close to the enemy is actually more like 2 steps too close. Because not only did you take that 1 step too close, that's 1 more step further you're going to have to take out back to safe range. You see how you're still getting closer here. You are still clicking towards 4 people in this scenario. Your auto attack range is not this close. You can shoot jacks from way further away than this. So it's a bit of a high stakes moment. I can see why you might have tunnel visioned a little bit. You probably didn't expect them to burst through Trundle. But you just are not maintaining good distance here. And you get punished for it. Not only are you not maintaining good distance, but you're not focusing the proper targets. You could have already put a shot and a Q into this Jax before he hit E. Because once he hits E and that Triumph kicks in and he gains 300 HP, it's lights out. This game is over right here. But you guys probably could have won this fight, you and Teemo. Had you insta-killed Jax, then Jax doesn't heal and Jax doesn't stun you. And then you get to instantly turn on Camille with Teemo, and you guys probably kill them too. Then with Camille and Teemo, or Camille and Jax dead, I don't think the 2 of them kill you. They might, if you guys face check their combo, but this looks very different. So try to maintain the distance and try to not walk in any closer than you need to. Because every step take that is too close, it's like another 2 steps to get back out. Because you shouldn't have taken the original step, and now you still have to back out and fix it. But that wraps it up. I think overall the biggest part of this game was definitely that 25-minute point in the game where you went mid and also didn't buy the correct items. That was the most resultant. But overall, I think you played a pretty decent game. But I would try to be more aggressive in lane, just a little bit, when you already have an HP lead. Because for as long as you guys spent overextended in the early game, you could have got more of a lead. Like if you started the Doran's Blade, we're going to go back to the beginning, you had that extra 14 AD in a lane where their laners didn't even get there in time for the CS, then you have a much bigger lead. You don't let them walk up for free right here. You immediately trade onto them because you guys are already ahead. You need to recognize when you're ahead and keep your foot on the gas, essentially. And you guys were ahead from level 1. But I hope that's helpful. That's going to end the review. It definitely went over in time, but I think that's okay.